minutes live, so. All right. I think committee members should ought to take this one over, wherever that was. Y'all want to start discussing it or whatever you came up with.
All right. That was the work session, so you were,
Yeah, I did. I just delegated that responsibility to you, Ron.
Oh.
You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna talk about parking for Horst T again. I didn't say family this time. So let's figure out what we wanna do. They, would like some parking spaces for their patients that are there on an average of an hour each. Most patients don't have, I'm giving you a run, listen, catch up here. Most patients don't have a handicap placard, so it makes it a little harder to use a handicap spot if you don't have that. So they would like something a little closer for some of their more, how you gonna say it?
I guess you just want me to, I kind of have a whole thing on.
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just introduce myself again. My name is Patrick Horst. I'm the owner of Horst Physical Therapy right over here.
I'm Rosemary Santuyama Clapping. I am also a PT, and I've been working there for about a year.
So I guess I just kind of talked about it a little bit last time, but not everyone was here. So I'll just kind of give. There's two main points that I'd like to hit that I think explain why the main reason we're asking for what we are. The first one, and that's become very apparent this past few months, is that it's starting to have a direct impact on our patients' rehab, the whole process. So time management during their scheduled appointments is paramount for their progression. We have many scheduled appointments during a workday, so we can't afford to encroach on another patient's time slot, plus it's not fair to them with their own respective plan of care. We've had many instances where patients have had to do laps around the block or even park illegally to get to their appointments. In those instances, I volunteered to go move and park their vehicle for them. It also takes a lot of energy to walk longer distances. Some people we see specifically for their lack of stamina and conditioning, as well as balance issues. If they're too worn out to be productive during their therapy session, the whole session is a bust, obviously, which is frustrating for both parties. So having designated parking area would eliminate or significantly reduce the chance of these scenarios from occurring. Next is basically, I just wanted to talk about just safety overall. Walking longer distances, it's unsafe for individuals using mobility aids, for example, canes, crutches, walkers. Having to traverse longer distances means there's an increased risk of falling and other complications, especially this time of year. This includes people of all ages, like Ron said. It's not just the elderly population. So for example, we're treating currently a 24-year-old girl. She just had invasive knee surgery, and right now she's required to not bear any weight through her surgical knee. And so she had to crutch, the other day she had to crutch her way down all the way from, she parked in 4th Street, one of those spots up there. And it was very dangerous just because there was snow and ice on the ground. And we are in charge of our, chunk of sidewalk in front of our building, but we have no control over, all the other businesses and things like that. So it really is dangerous from that perspective. And I'd like to reiterate, just like Ron said, we're not requesting this. This request is not to my benefit. It's for everyone else. You, a friend, family member, coworker, whomever. It's anyone who needs our services. And right now, everyone we've interacted with, business owners, the general public, our patients, they really all understand how important this is, especially within these past couple months, with just how much we've grown. There was talk about, a logistical nightmare. He used those words because we'd be setting a precedent for other businesses, asking for their own parking. But again, I printed off, I collected a bunch of signatures from those businesses I don't know why those don't mean anything. If there's an issue with the validity of those signatures in some way, if we need to get more, how many more do we need to get? I mean, we're willing to do whatever we need to do from that standpoint. If you think that'll cause a huge uproar within the community, then I guess my answer would be to cross that bridge if it happens. So really, I've just been trying to ask myself why this is, there's so much pushback with this, and frankly, the only thing I'm really coming up with is that, city employees, the council, you just don't want to give up the parking spaces, and whether you want to admit that or not, it doesn't matter. But I guess I just really want to know, and I'm speaking to anyone, do you think that you deserve your own parking spaces, and if so, why?
The city slots don't affect council at all. They're not for us. They're for the city employees.
Are you not a city employee?
I wouldn't,
Do you
No,
get
I
paid by
don't
the
do
city?
it.
We could use them, but in general, I
to
don't.
that extent.
Well,
I mean,
that's
I
what
don't
I,
think
that's what I use when I want physical therapy.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't.
Or
think-
anyone, I guess, if
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
more-
you specifically, I guess why, why does it need to be the way that it is as currently?
Well, first thing I guess I would say is that, from what I understand, is that the city bought that lot, paid $30,000 for that lot for city parking. So I would say that's one reason why, is because that's why we own the lot. That's why we have it. So that's why.
That'd be a big one.
Okay.
So like,
So can I
So-
ask a question? So then you guys or the city just decided to have the far spaces, the ones by the road, just decided after you bought the lot that those would be public and these would be city, or
It
you don't
was.
own that part?
It was the reason they bought it was after the original city hall burned down, and they moved here because this used to be a shelter workshop, and it got changed. So it was so city employees would not be parking where customers come in to pay their utility bills for here. So they bought this lot, but there was no actual real parking. So that's how come they bought the lot adjacent here. That was 30 years ago.
Okay, yeah, I get that, but I mean, why then are the ones furthest to the road, why are they public?
Those are
That was
states.
just something.
The state owns
The
it.
Owned by the
state
DOT.
owns
Oh,
it.
that's not owned by the city.
Right.
Okay,
that's
I
how
did
it
not
is.
know that, I'm asking a question.
So I guess maybe we are understanding each other fully. I don't understand, and I can make a recommendation to the other individuals that are on this committee, and we can make a recommendation to council. That doesn't guarantee that it's gonna pass. The last meeting, it was said that I wouldn't have an issue opening up a couple of spots, but we're not going to reserve them and put horsed parking on there. But there would potentially be two open spots that could be used by your customers.
So what would prevent, the current parking situation? What would prevent the city employees from just continuing to use those spaces then?
Nothing would.
nothing.
Okay. So I mean,
So how
from
would
our
it-
standpoint, it's
Sorry.
not really a solution.
How would it be designated that they're public? Because it's my understanding, I just found this out actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, on the city, these parking spaces out here, the city hall parking spaces, the last two spaces are technically public spaces, is that correct?
No.
It's not correct?
How would that be? Not that I've heard of. No.
You're talking about the ones right out when you go out the door, you walk right.
Yeah,
in.
walk to the door, like if I'm coming to pay my bill, I was told, I don't remember who told me this, but that those last two spaces are public.
I think it was
Oh,
Ted
Are
actually.
you talking about the furthest ones
To the sidewalk.
to the sidewalk?
Just for
The ones closest to the road, right?
You're talking
that little chunk.
These
those
par-
row of
Yeah.
parking along the
Right out here.
state highway. That's
No.
the state's.
No,
No.
the road
No.
right out here along our sidewalk with the benches on it.
Yeah, I thought
Commenting on that's for city hall customers.
you
Is
said
that-
the last two was public because I think on Beacon it stopped right
I
before
think
that.
that's what you guys corrected, wasn't it, with the ordinance change?
Yes, on the ordinance change, it wasn't going to allow for any parking whatsoever because it was on DOT right away. This
And
ordinance
that's what
change
I-
allowed for parking in all those spaces. It was this parking lot and about 36 parking spaces at Fairway, which was considered in the right of way.
Okay.
And this has already gone into place because I don't remember the last time we
Yeah,
spoke.
that's
Yes.
what I was talking about.
Mhm.
Is it's in the city, the state right away. I think
Right.
The city
Because
passed
yeah, and
no
the-
parking ordinance.
in the downtown business district, you could not have a designated parking that was in the right of way.
Yes.
This ordinance changed that to allow for parking in the right of way, but not to
If it was
create
already
new parking.
established.
Right, that was already established, not to create brand new parking spaces.
'Cause we were gonna have an issue with
Correct.
Fairway, we were gonna have an issue with.
So that, can I ask another question?
Yeah, go for it.
So all these parking spaces in front of the city hall are public for city
Are
hall
they- Are they
customers.
specifically designated for city
They're
hall?
not labeled.
They're not
No,
labeled,
I
they're
think they're-
public.
Because
I
I do
assume they're
notice some
public.
city employee vehicles parked there for long distances of time, so I was just curious what they are.
No, they're just,
They're public
I assume they're public
parking spaces.
So
So
what?
it's okay for city employee vehicles to park in public parking spaces and not use the ones designated for city employees.
We don't
So
have,
because
Yeah.
they don't have additional spaces, you say they shouldn't be able to park there?
Well,
I-
there's
I wanna
additional
stop there.
spaces by
Can
the
I stop
city
1 second?
council, by
I-
the city.
It seems like your lack of parking, you're trying to make it that it's our fault.
No, I'm
Because that's
not.
how you're coming across
No,
right
I'm
now.
not. I am not. I am not trying to make it your fault.
So let me ask you guys a
I'm just
question.
countering.
So when you bought the building, what kind of parking was already established there?
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Mhm.
So did you take into consideration the parking needs of your customers when you bought that building?
No, but that wasn't a problem at the time. That's why we're here right now.
I
It's
know,
because things
but
have
I don't-
changed. That's why we're even bringing
And
it
it,
up.
it just seems the direction you're heading here that, well, the city can make this all go away, just give us the spots. And
Well, how about? Sorry, go ahead. How about this? What if we don't put our name on any specific spots? Why don't we just open up all of those spots to the public then?
Well, because I was here 3 times last week, and the 3 times I came, there was only 2 spots there that were open, and there was 2 spots I think right in front of City Hall that were open. So then that means those spots are going to be taken by other people. Like I think we were just hurting City Hall workers, or our city workers too. I think it makes it harder for people that are coming in to pay bills and do things to have spots to park. I think we're just going to cause a huge mess if we just.
Do you
totally
see that
ignore
that's the problem we're stating too? That it's
Yeah,
not
but-
even, it's not our employees at all. We're solely looking for places for the clients that we see
The
for
public.
this particular
But
business.
As Patrick said though, opening that up to public parking is not going to help the problem. I agree with that totally. That
2
if you-
spots.
Well, I think if you open all of them up, it doesn't matter because you're going to have people from all the workers from around here, all employees from different places parking in those spots. So I don't think it's going to help anything. It's just really hurting city employees, and that's the reason why we bought that parking lot for $30,000 is to give them parking.
If every single one of those spots was taken consistently every day during business hours, I would absolutely agree with you.
Mhm.
But even a couple hours ago, I just glanced out there quick. There were 2 open spots, weren't being used. It was still within business hours. I mean, I really do think if you made them all public, I think it would help everyone because the people that get there early in the morning for their job, they're not in any danger of losing their spot. We open at 7, and actually usually at that early in the morning, there's spots in front of the storefront. So the city employees are the ones that would want to park there. I don't think they would be in any danger of not getting their parking spot. I think it would help everyone if we just had the ability to take the open spots during our business hours. It's not taking away from whoever's parking there, but I think it's inefficient to not utilize all the spaces. And if, you know, if it's open, somebody should use it. I mean, it's that simple. Why do we have it if it's not being used?
Well, scheduling. Just because something appears to be open, and not every day we have these things. Not every day we have training, but we do have training. Not every day that we don't have, like I said, training, bid openings, those type of things. They do happen at unusual times during business hours.
So what if on those days, when you do or don't have them, say you don't have a training, if there are open spots, could we tell our patients, hey, during our business hours, if there's an open spot, go ahead and take it for 45 minutes to an hour.
It's not like they're sitting there all day.
No signs.
But not the one person, but the next person maybe, the next
Not
person maybe, the
necessarily,
next person maybe.
because sometimes we do have parking that's in a appropriate distance to our clinic, but
Out front. Or,
up front or
yeah.
down the block. But I mean, we have people parking
It's
by
just
Lagrange's or places like that to then try to get to our clinic who have mobility issues or are post-surgical or balance issues or elderly, and
It's mostly just the overflow,
Have
because
those.
it wouldn't be a primary source of parking. It's
No.
mostly like, hey, we got a straggler, there's no spaces out front, but hey, I see a couple right here that aren't being used. It's the middle of the day. I mean, it's not, we wouldn't be saying, hey guys, this is open, everybody park there. It's not that at all. Everybody does try to park in front of the storefront, just like if they were going to any other business downtown. But if it's not available, it's more of just, it's convenient. Yes, I know the city bought it. It's yours. But it would be more you doing a service to the people
To the
of Vinton. If it was open to the public, they could utilize it at that time as convenience. That's really all we're asking. It's just being able to use an open space when it's available during our clinic hours.
Which, as I look at it, that's a tax-paying business.
that's bringing in a lot of business and a lot of people from outside the Benton community to this community that after they've been here may go visit another business in this community.
It'd be tough to have designated spots, I think everybody agrees with that. The opening some up to public makes sense to me. How many, I don't know. One side, all of it, a few spots is the discussion I think we could have. If anybody is in favor of opening some up to public.
Obviously, I would be in favor of it. I said the two furthest to the east spots. We could remove the city parking.
Say three.
I'm sorry.
Get you to say three.
The only reason why we're asking three, sorry to interrupt, is because we have three clinicians. And so when each of us have a patient, we see people on the hour. If each of us have a patient, in theory, everything was taken up front, then it would be a higher possibility if they all came at the same time, they could. And that's not guaranteeing that would be the case, but three would be a nice number from our perspective.
How many are posted city only?
Those seven, I think.
All of
Seven.
them along the
Those
wall.
seven.
Inside.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So 3 of the 7.
I don't think it helps the problem at all. I think it's just going to be full of other people parking there. And I think, again, I'm not here all the time because I work and stuff too, but this last week I was really looking, and every time I came, there was not 3 parking spots open. So to say that that's going to help the issue that's at hand, I would say if we wanted to try it and then revisit it later, but
3 spots aren't going to be consistently open 24/7 year round. We have an average. We have data average throughout the whole, past 3 coming up on 4 years. I'm not saying, when there's court cases and stuff, everything is full. There's no parking anywhere. I'm just saying on average, it's not always full. It's going to be full sometimes.
So now, we can now designate, we changed the ordinance, can we now designate can we have city employee parking on the north side if we want?
That is, you have to get into a 2080 agreement with the Iowa DOT for that.
But that's public parking. They just turn into that side rather than this side.
I realize that, I'm just saying, you know, at one time the idea was east to west, have it city employees on this side since this is close to the city hall, and have public on the other side. Because that's generally where everybody's going if it's public. You know, we have our public, some spots out here for the people that want to come up and pay bills.
I think it's still a numbers game though, at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, you could maybe change the location, but at the end of the day, it's still,
But I mean,
I just don't think it would.
I gotta be right that if you're gonna utilize any spots, you would want to utilize the ones closest to your front door, which would be that side, is in my point. I mean,
I understand.
yeah, I mean, so,
I don't think it's going to impact, and again, it's a subjective opinion just like his, you know, I really just don't think it's going to be, and if you wanted to do it on a trial basis or something, open them all up, we can even, you know, we can set up cameras, we can figure out how to quantify the data, all you want to know. If it's, you know, you open them all up and it's like, all right, you know, this percentage of the time on these days they are not available, you know, we'd be happy to do that. I really don't think it's going to affect who is all parking there currently, how you think it's going to.
Mhm.
I really don't think it will.
I mean, it's understood though that even if those are open to the public, city employees can still park.
Of course, using the open spots, using the whole parking lot as efficiently as possible, not wasting.
We wouldn't even have brought this up as a solution if we weren't noticing throughout the day how many open spots there are there. And I would bet money that there are more days when there are open spots there throughout the day than there are days where they're all full.
Well, and we can, if you really wanted to see, we could actually objectively measure that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glancing out the window because I'm always at the window on that side of the clinic, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, there's a couple open, yeah, okay. So it's just me noticing, obviously, I'm looking out there all day, constantly. So, and again, it's not always, there's X amount of spots open. I'm just taking an average since I've been there, which was.
Ted, I haven't heard anything out of you.
Well, you weren't here when I did speak anyway, but had a conversation with Patrick. I did emphasize north side of the courthouse. Again, you drive by that parking area where it's designated, there's spots open all day long over there. All day long. But
I think it's still just a distance factor. I mean, even if they are open, that's quite a ways away.
Is the north side, which side's the north
It's
side?
one that have all the
Between
paint on
the,
it.
Across from the jail.
across from
there's
the
a
jail?
designated parking lot.
Which then you have to cross the streets.
Right. That's the big issue.
That's
is-
another, that is a
Across
big
the
If
street.
we could put stop signs on those streets. then
But it's still,
it would be
it's
safe.
still too far. I mean,
Right.
And I did suggest handicap, one or two handicap spots in front of the door.
The
But again,
That's gonna
majority of
take-
our patients don't
That's
have
gonna take two
handicap
spots
stickers,
out, right, Scott?
we don't,
and that takes.
I understand the gesture for the handicap, but just because they're seeing us doesn't mean, you know, they, like I said,
Doesn't
I
mean
gave the
they're
example, I see a lot of young people who
That's what I
are,
said, you gotta have a placard to park in a handicap spot, and most of the people down there, I didn't have a handicap placard.
actually, if anything at this point, adding more handicap would probably make it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make it worse.
So I don't know what the right,
Well, I would say try 3 public spots on the end. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
We've been inquired by another company that wants to open another physical therapy business to the downtown area. So are we going to, what, I'm just wondering council's direction on policy on that. If there's more than one this kind of business downtown, would they require some
I think
kind of
we're
parking
staying away
as
from
well?
that since we're not designating anything.
Yeah, if
And
we're
like
not gonna,
Patrick
if
said,
we're not
we'll
gonna
cross
say
that when we
horse
get to it,
PC on the
if we
sign, it's just public parking,
Yeah, I mean,
then.
Yeah,
it's an odd little deal with that parking lot where it's at. I mean, we're not even changing anything on the actual street level. It's off-street parking that we're changing.
And
Which
honestly,
makes me feel a little better. I mean, it's
Honest-
not
sorry.
right out in front of your business that
Right.
that was city employee parking. Now we're going to change it. It's off. It's not right in front of any business.
Right, and honestly, I'm past the whole, giving us our specific, our own signs. That's totally fine. The more I think about it, if it was just open to everyone, I think that would be mutually beneficial to all parties involved.
Yeah,
And so I know it, you don't know until you know. So again, if you wanted to do some type of trial period of something, but I look at it every day, all day, every day, 7 to 5, and it's frustrating when people. It's a daily topic. People come in, sorry, I couldn't find a place to park. Sorry, I couldn't find a place to park. And I look out there, I'm like, all right, there's a couple spots out there, So, and then they look at me like there's nothing I can do, So this is all I can do. Is just ask and.
And the only reason we're asking as a business is because those spots right by the building happen to be city parking spaces. So I don't think it sets any precedent either for other businesses because there aren't city parking spaces.
Right.
by
If there's
any other
another
businesses.
PT
So
clinic that comes into town and
It's
there's
not like
city
they're-
parking right next to them, then all
then that
right.
would set a precedent, yes, but I don't see that as setting a precedent.
But I just,
No.
I'm looking at the other two.
I don't get to vote.
You know my feelings. 3 spots. Public, on that end.
You wanna make that recommendation to the council?
That's what I'd like to do.
So there's no sidewalk from those 3 spots to the front of the building.
You got the driveway there.
It's one level though.
I did mention that, as far as the safety factor, the surface conditions during the winter time.
But as I said,
I would volunteer if those became public, and I noticed that I would happily make sure those cleared, make sure
But
they're
the city
solved.
clears that
Person
lot.
slips and falls, and they're gonna come after the city, not you.
Well,
Wouldn't that
if
be
it's
any
public,
parking
it could,
spot
it could be
in
anybody.
the city?
they're gonna
Absolutely.
Yeah, any parking spot in the city. If someone falls,
Right.
they would, if they were gonna sue anybody.
It's not
it would
ideal.
sue.
I talked to Pat about that too. I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. It'd be nice to have a sidewalk there, but it's better than, the fact is, it's still better than walking so much further with
100%.
all the other hazards that they're going to come across. So I don't see that being an issue.
Well, as we said out there, that was one night. I didn't have a problem opening up 3 to the public.
I didn't.
Only opening up to the public. not
I wish we could have. I wish we
Right.
could have that night. But.
Right, and I've changed my,
And we tried. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's. I do think we did want to help. It's
But again,
it's,
if
it's
if it
tough.
does go,
Precedents are tough. I mean,
not stopping anybody, any person,
yeah. Well, we'll
anyone
learn.
from parking
We
there.
might learn a bit about our community we live in. We hope that people
We're still having
understand,
issues.
understand the issue.
Yeah, we hope they understand your
Use the
dilemma.
honor system.
Yeah, it's.
There you go. Because that's what it'll come down to.
You would hope so.
So,
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
so I guess I will take this to council. Recommendation, 3 spots on the east end, on city parking, turn to public parking, and we see how it lands.
Do we? No, this is just. Is this a temporary? Can we do temporary? We don't do an
We'll have to
ordinance
see how,
just for this.
well,
we gotta do a resolution
amending the ordinance, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
they're
gonna
all-
have to be
is that like-
resolution and
ordinance.
everything.
There's no
but-
ordinance for those,
No ordinance.
so we can just rip down 3 signs and call it a day.
It's your policy.
Perfect.
You could do a resolution. Make it
Well,
nice
no,
better.
I don't.
It would go quicker for you.
Because then if I
we
have
don't
to undo
pass
it
a
again, we could
resolution.
just put the signs back up.
You got public parking signs?
I don't even think,
Opinion?
I don't even
I
think
need
we
'em.
need to put them.
No,
But nothing
the other side
there.
doesn't have them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just
No.
take the signs down. it's
Yeah.
public
That's it.
I wouldn't say all, but most of the people that park there are gonna be aware of the situation.
I would say so too.
Okay.
Well, you got another council meeting, you gotta wait for it though. We
When's
can't do it
that?
Tonight.
When is it?
I don't have a calendar
First.
anymore.
Second Thursday in
We
January.
didn't get new ones. The 9th? I think it's the 9th. That sounds right, the 9th of January.
Thursday the
It's
9th.
right there.
Thursday 7th.
Did you get glasses
I have contacts in, Ron.
and you couldn't see 6 o'clock?
I swear to God, it says 6:30. Okay, if I'm not here at 5 minutes till the start time, somebody call me because I'm either dead or I forgot. Or I didn't read it. Hopefully not the dead one.
I hope it works out.
Me too.
I do too, I hope it doesn't work out. I
Well,
hope
we
it- I hope it
appreciate you
improves.
guys being willing to at least give it a try,
Yeah,
as
we do.
opposed to throwing out reasons of why not trying, so,
Yeah, yep.
thank you.
What else you wanna talk about?
How much time you got?
Easy about
Talk
it.
about parking for you, so it's gonna have to be somehow related to that.
That's a good discussion.
We'd like to know who the other.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is other PT business.
Place that wants to come to
They have not named their name yet.
Really?
Yes, but they have inquired about ramps and changing things. And they wanted
It's
the
me,
downtown
I've been there long
businesses.
enough, I know all the stuff, so.
No, it's good. New businesses downtown.
He was a
Good stuff.
physical therapist with me.
Seniors PT and plumbing. There you go.
Well, on that note. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are all you guys like therapists?
No, wife and
Yeah, I thought you were a wife, that's what I was like, you're not.
Yeah, Rosie, myself and Rosie, and then we have one other therapist who isn't here today, but
Speaking of that, aren't you supposed to be someplace?
tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
yeah, something wouldn't happen tonight, otherwise I would have had to miss, but.
Tomorrow. So he'll still be on leave during the next meeting, so he'll be
I'll make it here.
around. Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Well, there's nothing else on that work session, so
Oh, I'm sorry,
we're closing that one.